federal judge has ruled against a group's challenge to JMU's cutting of 10 sports teams. JMU announced in 2006 that it was cutting 7 men's teams and 3 women's teams to comply with the federal law requiring equality in men's and women's intercollegiate sports. The group Equity in Athletics has been seeking to overturn the cutting of the sports teams, which took place in 2007. The federal judge ruled last week that Equity in Athletics had failed to prove the cuts were illegal. And joining us now to discuss the judge's decision is Larry Joseph, an attorney for Equity in Athletics. Larry, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, Larry, this is a major decision in the case. Where does EIA go from here?
Well, whoever wins, the other side is going to appeal to the United States Court of Appeals in the Fourth Circuit, which will hear the case anew. It almost doesn't matter what the district court decides for this particular type of case. Before we do that, we're probably going to ask Judge Conrad in the district court to reconsider 2 aspects of his decision. Some of the sort of big picture, right or wrong issues about what is equality, and I mean, everyone's for equal, but the question is, what does it mean? Is it based on interest or based on enrollment? And the 2 things that we think he got wrong is we're challenging this federal guidance that JMU relied upon. The statute says that no rule or order takes effect until certain procedures are met. The procedures certainly weren't met, and Judge Conrad sidestepped that by saying this was guidance, not a rule or an order. Well, issuing non-rule guidance is an order, so that doesn't make any sense at all, and we're going to ask him to reconsider that. Also, what we said is, look, if we do lose on this issue of the cuts being illegal, we have women members who were, supporting the male teams that were cut. If you take, as JMU did, a school that was proportional with respect to scholarships, they were non-proportional with respect to enrollment and participation, but they were proportional with scholarships, which is another Title IX requirement under these federal guidelines we're challenging. But if we accept the loss, then what happened is JMU went from being in scholarship proportionality to way out of scholarship proportionality because they cut predominantly, almost exclusively, non-scholarship males. And so what it means is if we lose, if we don't get these teams reinstated, JMU has a scholarship deficit for its female athletes and our female members of about $1.3 million. So we want, if we lose the participation side, we want JMU to pay out to its female athletes. And what the court said is we don't have standing. I don't, quite frankly, know what he means. We have members, the female members, who were hurt and would be redressed, and that hurt would be redressed, which is the 3-part test for standing, if JMU was forced to pay out to its female athletes. So we think he's wrong on that as well.
All right. If both of those don't work, though, you're on the basis of the case, you're going to the U.S. Court of Appeals, though, I guess.
Well, certainly. And if they do work, then JMU will appeal, or we'll both appeal. We'll appeal the part of the loss, and they'll appeal the other.
Okay. Now, let me just ask you, the basis of JMU's argument is in fall of 2006, women were 51% of the athletics, but 61% of enrollment. Doesn't it make sense to have those more proportional, which is what JMU was after?
Well, it's wrong for several reasons, but 2 primary ones. One, the test should be who's interested in playing sports, not just sort of people that are at school. Some people that are at school have no interest in playing sports. Some are physically incapable. That they shouldn't count towards that test. When you use an interest-based standard, which was the original Title IX standard, you wouldn't cut men's cross country, but not women's cross country. Interest is equal or even greater for men's cross country, and there's no cost. It's purely a bean counting thing, which moves into the second argument. It's a quota. It's just discriminating against male cross country runners vis-a-vis women cross country runners, simply because there's a lot of guys that went out for football, and that's a quota. Title IX is a statute modeled on Title VI, which gets rid of whites-only drinking fountains, that kind of racial discrimination by federal fund recipients. How in the world did we end up with a women's-only swimming pool with a no whites-only drinking fountain statute? So it's just flat out illegal. Yes, we're all against discrimination, but the way to stop discrimination is to stop discriminating.
All right, Larry, an attorney with Equity in Athletics, Larry Joseph, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.